So what are twin flames and what are soulmates? And I'm going to explain it in a scientific way, and I'm also share my experiences. I had two twin flame experiences, one soulmate experience, and my second twin flame connection actually triggered a Kundalini awakening. Hi, my name is Rita Simon and I am a mindset coach. And in this series titled Awaken, I'm going to share all my experiences with you that I had during these mystical experiences, and also the knowledge I gained in order to understand what was happening in a scientific way, because I'm just a scientific person. And in this episode, I'm going to demystify the soulmate and twin flame phenomena. So if you want to keep your own thoughts or ideas, I suggest you not to watch this. Of course, I can be wrong. This is just what I believe. That's the most likely and most rational explanation of these two. So the soul or the self is actually made out of two parts, two core parts. One of them is going to be the head, and that's basically the brain. And in the brain, we have different parts as well, but we see the head as one, and that's the cognition. And the cognition works in a way that it likes similar things. That's why when we agree, we feel good. We don't feel triggered. So that's what we have to know about the head, that it likes similar things. So that's how it sees patterns. And when something is different, it's out of pattern. It creates chaos and it creates a trigger function that something is wrong. This is not like all of these things. And when we talk about the body, that's the second part. That's the individual part. That's our attachment system. This is very active when we are children. This is our inner child. And these are our deep emotions and reactions and impulses. And it works when something is opposite. So it gets triggered to the opposite. And this is the interesting thing when we talk about soulmates and twin flames. So soulmate is going to be, okay, what they say is that, oh, you feel like you've known each other forever and you are coming from a different life, all of these things. I'm not going to get into it. But basically that person is you. Because the person thinks exactly the same, reacts the same, everything is the same. Maybe there is some very teeny tiny differences, but your whole body and everything is exactly the same. So you see that other person and it's just a copy of you with a very teeny tiny difference. And that's why when you try to become in a romantic relationship with a soulmate who you understands you so well and everything is just fine and perfect, there is no chemistry. It feels flat. It's unsatisfying. And the reason for that is because your nervous system knows that, yes, it's very safe and it feels good, but you won't evolve with that person because the person is basically you. You can't change. And your nervous system gets attracted to someone who is your opposite because that's when you can evolve. And twin flames are actually called soul accelerators. And my understanding is that they connect you on a deeper level. So on the surface, you are going to be opposite with this person because your reactions are going to be opposite. But deep down, the emotions, the trauma, the childhood wound is going to be exactly the same, but you react in the opposite way. And what happens is that that's why you feel connection, that you connect, and there is this lots of chemistry, and it's so impulsive and lots of emotions because your nervous system is reacting all the time and it's really triggered. And you get a lot of dopamine and positive hormones to actually keep you stuck in that relationship, because this is a relationship you need. It's going to be abusive because you don't understand what is happening. And it's a way to wake you up. So your nervous system feels what is needed for you, but on a cognitive level, because your cognition doesn't understand what's happening, it's going to be translated that this person is abusive. But when you understand that this person actually triggers out your deepest fears and those childhood wounds you had, so you relive them, and now as an adult, because now you have an adult cognition, you can make a different connection between your heart and mind. So you can change who you are deep down, so your belief system, and you can evolve. So if you know what's happening, these relationships are really good for you. If you don't know what's happening, these relationships are not going to be beneficial for you, or very, very little bit. And if you want to translate it into psychology, because when we talk about twin flames, we have a runner and we have a chaser. The runner is basically a more narcissistic person, and that person is going to be an avoidant in attachment types. And the chaser is going to be a more codependent, empathic, and is going to be an anxious, preoccupied. And when you see this way, the runner is going to be a person who is able to detach from the emotions easier and a more cognitive person. And the anxious is going to be a more body-based person who is more reactive and doesn't have a high impulse control like the runner. And a healthy thing is, and that's why they attract is, should be that they both have both and they are kind of in the middle. And that's what these connections trying to teach you. Teach you self-love, self-respect, also see your own boundaries, and also to learn to self-soothe yourself and see yourself separate from this other partner. So when you have these very impulsive thoughts that, oh, this is the person that I'm going to live together forever, this is not healthy for you, because you don't know what's the lesson you have to learn. And I actually had two of these connections, and they both started exactly the same way. And it was that I didn't even see the person. I just felt this pull and this click, like my aura actually synced with the other person. And again, I never even heard about this. I had to look this up as, okay, these are the symptoms. What the hell is happening? And that was only when I had the second connection. And the second connection one is exactly the same, that it was an energetic, I call them an energetic bond, but I believe it's from the nervous system and it connects. It becomes, I believe, zero. So whatever you have down and the other person have, it's just zero, and it connects. And even if you don't have these twin flame connections, it's not as intense. I believe the more intense these are, the deeper the trauma is. So the deeper trauma they can bring up to your conscious, so you can revisit, relive this thing and create a completely different reaction to it. I think it takes time to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And there is a natural safety built in us that you don't go too deep down, because they can make you suicidal as well. So these can be very dangerous. And my second one, so the first one was actually a preparation. So that took me to a more deeper inward path to get to know myself more, to actually be more aware of myself. And the second one took me even deeper. That was a very deep, very intense, up and down. That was a very different connection than the first one. And the experience was that when the person was aware, I was extremely anxious, so anxious. And it wasn't true about me before. I was more actually in the avoidant part, a more heady person. And I moved down to the body. And when he was there with me and he hugged me, that was the good thing. I felt whole. And that, like, the whole world just stopped existing. It was so peaceful. That was the best thing ever. But again, as soon as he left, I was completely out of control. And it took me quite a few years to get to a point when I realized what was going on. I was so obsessed, I couldn't understand myself, what was going on. And that's when I figured out from one of the YouTube videos that this was a twin flame connection. And twin flames mirror each other, the negatives. So they look completely different, but the negatives are the same. And when I looked into the negatives and I saw it in myself as well, so this other person was also like me, but this was like a disintegrated part of me. And now I could see this part of me that I couldn't see before. And in my understanding, these two integrated because I saw it finally. And it actually triggered a full-blown Kundalini awakening. Or at least when I looked it up again on Google, what was happening, this came up for me that it was a Kundalini awakening. And my suggestion to you, if you are into twin flames, is that don't romanticize it because you don't know what the lesson you have to learn and you don't know how many twin flames you are going to have. And for some people, a twin flame connection is going to last because this is what they are meant to do. But for example, in my case, I had to let the person go because this was my life lesson. I could connect with my past lives when I was with this person, and the lesson I had to learn, because again, this was another experience from the past life. I remembered my ex-husband, and when I hugged him, I could feel that everything was not just whole, but I wanted to stay in that moment and no other life, no other moment ever. And a year later, because I was still communicating with this past life husband, he told me something. What was the biggest pain of this guy I was seeing? This was a second twin flame. And I actually sent a text message to him out of curiosity. And when we met again, shortly after, it really, really got me. So it was definitely true because he hugged me like never before. Like he hasn't seen me for years. And I could feel the energy pouring from his heart into my heart. And that was the most amazing experience I have ever had. And it was exactly the same. This is how scary it is, that the experience I had with that guy in my past life, but I didn't know what was the trigger because I didn't feel the trigger in the past life. I could just feel that I want to stay in that moment forever, and this was exactly the feeling I felt in this life again during this experience. And in that past life, I have lost that guy. That was my husband during a war, and I actually committed suicide, so I relived that. And I had to learn in this life that sometimes you love the partner and he loves you, but the circumstances don't allow you to stay together and you have to be okay with it. And this was my lesson. So I would say every single twin flame connection is going to teach you something and it's going to be different. But there will be one key thing in it. It will teach you to connect with yourself and to love yourself and accept yourself.